have some very special people here at the end of the show. Chip Foose is here right now to talk about his very first overhauling project that was...
The Ghia was before this.
Yeah, but this is your first muscle car.
That's true. Well,
So,
my first personal muscle car.
Yeah.
I had done quite a few with my father before that.
and probably a lot of stuff with Boyd Coddington.
Yeah, I've done a few.
Anyway, so Dad was his instructor at Art Center, and maybe I'll let him
Does everybody
explain.
know who Dad is?
Stuart Reed. Sorry, I forget because I'm. Okay.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
the backstory is in the mid 80s when I was chief designer at the Toyota Calty studio in Newport Beach, the guy who was chair of transportation design in my role at that time called me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to teach a class at Art Center?" And I said, "Yeah, let me check with the Toyota leadership because I don't want to do it on weekends. I want to be with my kids and be with the family." And so if they'll cut me loose during the week, leave the studio, I'll do it. So the Toyota leadership said, "Great, yeah, it'd be great for you to be up at Art Center." And so I started teaching a second year transportation design class on Wednesday afternoons. And we roll along, and then one of these classes, I have this lad from Santa Barbara in the class, a kid named Chip. And what I always did was the very first class session, I would pop a quiz on them, like a visual acuity test kind of a thing. And I'd pick a car out of production, and I'd ask all the new students to sketch that car. And of course, some couldn't even. International students might not know the car.
Now this is before we had Google.
Right.
So you couldn't
No, there's
just
no way.
Look something up
No.
on the desk.
No way. And of all things, what do I pick? I pick a Karmann Ghia. Now, little did I know, I didn't even know this, Chip had just completely redone a Karmann Ghia for his girlfriend. Been all through the car, been over every surface. And so I get these sketches back, and Chip's sketch is like, oh my gosh, how did he do that? It was just perfect, and oh man. So I get to know Chip, and I'm super impressed. And through the class, one evening, after class, he goes, "Hey, I want to show you my car. It's out in the parking lot." And he takes me out to the parking lot and shows me this 69 Pontiac Firebird 400. And he starts showing me all these subtle customizing tricks he did. He said he wanted to kind of look like maybe the original design model out of the Pontiac studio looked, without all the badging and all the stuff.
Kind of like a concept car.
Yeah, and I was just so impressed. So I think it was maybe near the end of the class, I said, "Hey, Chip, if you ever want to sell that car, would you call me first?" And that's how it worked.
So
Very-
Stuart, if you ever want to sell this car, you want to call me first?
So I have been calling it the Foosbird, but you
Yeah.
don't.
Well, so what we should do is
That's
just
the first time I heard that.
let's just have Chip highlight a few of the things he did. How many years ago? 1980.
I built this in '88.
So in '88, and actually I think it set a trend for this body Camaro Firebird on a lot of the cars to follow. What the details. This was the first car to get some of those details.
Well,
I think.
Gray Baskerville from Hot Rod Magazine said that this was the very first pro touring car.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
which,
So
which is
describe,
what they
describe
call it.
some of what you did.
Well, I did some subtle, shall we say, details here. I'll grab this up front. When we get into here, I just massaged the shape of the fender and into this, and actually, you've had it repainted,
Yeah.
and that
You didn't
little.
do it as well as-
Well, I had a little peak that was in here, and that's gone because when he stripped it, he probably
Yep,
got rid of
yep,
that.
yep.
But I tried to contour everything as if it went through, and then there was just this band here.
Yep.
And I got rid of the big emblem, the Pontiac emblem on the
Yep.
front of the grill.
Yep, smooth.
And then I filled the holes that were in here. Now, taking this shape right here is what was the inspiration for the wheels, and just repeated that around three times.
Hey, Chip, weren't you planning to make some
Well,
little parts?
yes, I actually have them somewhere. I machined those pieces, but I never ended up putting them on.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know how
we should still do that.
I should dig around and find them and just give them to you, because I made left and rights.
Okay.
I have them somewhere, but like I say,
Okay.
I never put them on the car.
Yep.
We ended up filling those holes.
And the only badging you left was the 400.
Yes, you know, the 400s were rare, so I wanted to keep that one little detail. And then I widened the A-post just a little bit and dropped the top down, or I lifted the windshield up, and then I used an S10 Chevy pickup,
Yep.
the rubber around here, to make it a flush fit glass. Did that on the front windshield and the rear glass also.
And this would have been Brightword, right?
Yes,
That was
I painted that, and then these were 70 Camaro mirrors.
more contemporary.
But originally, when I painted, I had the bottom. It had a blend. It got much darker at the bottom, and I also blended the mirrors. It's been repainted, but the blend wasn't added to it. These are '89 Honda Civic door handles. It's a 4-door. I used the rear door handles so they didn't have the lock in it.
Curvature
And
was just right.
yes, and then I used the just a remote for the locks. We put the Recaro seats in it.
No lock cylinders.
Nope. Changed the steering wheel, and then in the back I got rid of the side marker. In the front little side marker is
Still there.
yep. And I had them recessed a little bit further, and I actually took 2 sockets and put a bolt all the way through them, and then bolted it so it would suck that in. It looks like
He didn't do
Tony
that.
may have filled that back
Yeah,
in.
didn't do it the same way.
He didn't realize what I was doing. In the back, I cleaned up and took the Pontiac off of the Pontiac Firebird off the back, and then I flush fit all the bumpers and got rid of the bumper bolts. But
Yeah, that's right. The bumpers.
yes, so I got rid of all the bumper bolts, re-chromed all of that. But here comes a fun car that we're going to have a problem talking over.
It's nice to see the pastor out on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes. 33 Willys. That's awesome. Fantastic. But I finished the car and I drove it for years before we sold it to you, and I do miss it. It's such a beautiful car. You know, nobody was doing the Firebirds, but the Camaros were everywhere.
I don't know what the sales numbers were and the ratio of Camaros to Firebirds in '69, but there aren't many.
No, I
69
I love the Firebird.
Yeah.
Now, when I originally got it, I thought I need to restore it because the car was in such great shape, and I was going to put it all back stock. And I got a paddock catalog with all the '69 Firebird parts in it. And when I saw that every emblem was reproduced, and you could actually take any Firebird and create this car
Oh.
if you wanted to. This was an original 400, and I thought, well, anybody can restore one now, so that's why I decided to modify it.
But you said the hoods are kind of rare, hard to get, right?
Yeah, well, one night when I was driving it and I thought I was going to wreck it, as I'm watching this Cadillac coming closer and closer, and I'm thinking, I'm going to hit him, and I'm visualizing the hood's going to buckle, and I'm thinking, where am I going to find another 400 hood? But luckily, as I got about 3 feet from him, he started to move with the traffic in front of him, and I think I was about 3 inches from him going at the same rate of speed when he started to pull away.
Well, I'm glad you built it, and I'm glad you sold it to me.
I'm glad you have it.
Thanks.
Couldn't think of a nicer guy to have it.